Good morning, good morning. So this is my 11th day of doing this, the 30-day challenge I kind of set for myself. Getting a little more comfortable with it, so maybe I'm gonna, if I get time, do something in the video editing realm, maybe make like a little introduction. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that yet, but you know, that's why we have Google. Google teaches you how to do everything small like that, right? So I might give that a shot, maybe get like a consistent thumbnail to put up on front of my videos. So we'll see how that goes. I definitely want to play with that a little bit. Yeah, I found it pretty beneficial to do this. At least, you know, just organizing my own thoughts. I know sometimes I pause a little bit and I shoot from the hip, and so I'll try to put together things that are a little better for you guys. And maybe get a little more news related, like we're going to today. So I read where some Florida residents have been notified that they'll begin getting tickets for hurricane damaged properties. And you know, this really points to the level of bureaucratic overreach, I guess is the best way to say it. Because if you think about it from two perspectives, number one, you have people who didn't have flood insurance or hurricane insurance, storm insurance, I'm not sure, however they want to umbrella and categorize that down there in Florida. I'm sure there's a lot of different options. And you always have insurance companies, for those who have insurance, that take forever to process any kind of claim. And this mess is going to take several months, more than likely 1, 2, or 3 years, before paperwork is pushed through in its full extent. We saw that with Katrina. Katrina was terrible, and Katrina, it was said only like 15% of people who had damaged homes were insured. Florida, I think, tends to be a higher rate of people who have insurance. And then obviously there's Harvey. This isn't something that's affected, you know, this wasn't something I read about having an issue down in Texas, but so we'll focus on Florida. So if you have, let's say, good case scenario, you had insurance on your home. These people, these insurance companies, number one, this is going to put a massive financial strain on the insurance companies. People think, you know, oh, you get insurance and they're just gonna, you know, they've got that money sitting around and they'll have no problem paying out your claim. Well, that might be the case if you have some drunk guy that drives through the front of your house, right? Isolated incident. But when you have these massive storms and you have these massive amount of claims in the billions of dollars, these insurance companies run like any other financial institution. They run laser thin. They run margins all the time on everything. Their underlying assets, even in an insurance company, are probably only somewhere in the 10% range on what they have outstanding liabilities or what they have invested out in the market. So they've more than likely borrowed on margin to a large degree. I'm not sure what the insurance regulations are for required liquid capital on hand, in reserve, and what they can put out there in the marketplace. But make no mistake about it, insurance companies are financial institutions that operate similar to how banks operate. They are investment pools of money, and they have to get a 6% yield. And in today's day and age, when you have interest rates that are ridiculously low, those normal, you can't just stick money in government bonds or investment CDs. Most of these normal, typical financial instruments that were so famous in the 80s and 90s that could yield you anywhere from 5% up to 8 or 9% don't exist anymore. The only way to get these returns is to stick them in things like equities or foreign bonds that are riskier. Now, there might be some regulation on foreign bonds, I'm not sure, so if I'm misspeaking on any of this, I'm not an insurance expert as far as the details. I just know basically how they operate, the yields they need to have to survive, and the way in which they operate, which is not as a safe holding of your capital to then have, you know, packaged up nice and pretty for you whenever you have an issue. They have been dumping into more and more risky assets looking for yield. risky investment vehicles that can pay them over that 6%, because I'm sure they have a required percentage that has to be in things like bonds. So if you're stuck in a bond that's at 2.5%, they need to have another investment that can get them over that 7 or 8 or 9%, so that they can hopefully reach their goal of 6%, which most of them are failing miserably. The insurance industry was not in good shape before this happened, and it's only going to be worse as these claims start to get processed through the system. So what does that mean for somebody in Florida? That means that they're going to be looking at any damn reason, any discrepancy inside your contract or your insurance policy that can get them out of paying. So this might mean legal battles all over the place, right? Lawyers are going to be flocking to this like crazy, because every lawyer wants to, have a good case against an insurance company. They love that kind of stuff. So they're going to be fighting to get people what they rightfully deserve. We know how long the legal process in this country can take. Very long time. So that's the case of people who have insurance, right? They don't, people don't generally carry around $50, $60, $70, $100, $200,000 in readily available capital. They don't. We know this. So if they have this massive issue, damage on their property, on their home, they're going to be getting tickets from some asshole in, sorry, pardon my language. My wife yelled at me for cussing on an earlier video. But some bureaucrat is going to walk out there in his khakis and cite somebody because they've got $30,000 worth of roof damage and it's uglying up the neighborhood, and their insurance company is dragging their feet on the paperwork, or their lawyer is in a battle with the insurance company to get that paid for. That's insane. You got people who have already, their lives have been uprooted, they've been destroyed, and then they're going to have this little punk come around in his little polo and his khakis and his clipboard, saying, here, this is a $250 fine for this month for this stuff you have, or whatever it is. I don't know what the fines will be, but I mean, I think I'm probably on the low side, saying $250, right? And every month that it's not taken care of, we're gonna add to this or compound it. It's just ridiculous. How about, here's a cool idea, how about we remove some of the fraud, which is running in the 90% range, which means about 10% of your tax dollars gets funneled into what they're supposed to get funneled to. 90% is sucked off by parasitical administration fees, legislation, fraud. It's all sucked out of the system. So how about we cut out the parasitic activity and we make funds on a government level that don't require us to push our national debt higher, but we have liquid capital that is ready to assist people who pay taxes in this country to help them get back on their feet, instead of behind door deals where congressmen and senators and lobbyists can make so much darn money that they're sailing around in a 50 or 150 foot yacht, right, and joining the best clubs and going off to Europe while they work 130 days a year. How about we do things like that in this country to get back on track and to help people who pay? Maybe then you will have a citizen base that is more invested in their communities, more invested in state projects. It's really sad, and that goes all the way down to community level. I mean, fraud, especially in Florida, you can find it, from your county seats all the way up, obviously, to the state level. And I don't want to single out Florida. That's most states, I'm sure. But the thought that taking oath of office, taking a seat wherever it might be, whether it's a councilman, whether it's a congressman, whatever it might be, even a school board director, we've got this parasitic activity that is your invitation to lie, cheat, and steal now, because all the people below you need to fork over their money so that you can somehow use that financial leverage to better your own life, rather than being prudent, have critical planning and thinking that go into providing the most amount of beneficial services to the community, to the state, whatever level you're on, in the most efficient manner, so that people can get the most out of those tax dollars that they give from their paychecks that they go and bust their butt 40, 50 hours a week for. That would be a novel idea. That would be something that I would say, you know, hooray. Even in this county, well, where I live, in Idaho, a lot of Californians. This county has changed tremendously in the last 15 years. A lot more parasitical activity. You get taxed for any kind of dining you might have on the sidewalk. You get taxed for every single chair you have, or, you know, occupancy, seating for occupancy inside the dining room. A million different codes. None of the contractors know what the hell the codes are because they change all the time. You don't even have inspectors that are, you know, up on the, you know, on the same page when they come in. So, you know, I see this kind of stuff all the time. You know, the local park around here will write you a ticket while you're standing in line at the ticket thing to get your parking ticket, you know, your parking pass to put on your window. And then their thing is, well, maybe they're just going to be too lazy to fight it, right? To call us up and get their 20 bucks back. Maybe they'll just pay the ticket because it's easier. You know, so the parasitic activity is throughout the entire system. And it seems like instead of becoming compassionate when these kind of situations arise, it becomes an opportunity for greater financial gain. And it's really not something I like seeing. It's really damaging to people's, you know, people who've already just been stepped on by this giant storm, right? It just beats them down even further to know that their community in which their home is, that they call home, is trying to hit them up for capital when they're already stretched thin. And don't even get me into it. People who don't have insurance, what are they going to do? You're going to have a lot of people walk away from their homes because they're already not going to be able to. Sorry, I had my heat on. I was wondering why I was sweating so darn bad. You know, people are already going to have to walk away from their home because they have a, you know, partially or fully destroyed house, but they still have a mortgage obligation. So what are they going to do? You know, they're just going to cut their losses. Guarantee it. You're going to have easily 25% walk away rate from those who didn't have insurance. And those properties are going to be sitting there. They're just going to be sitting there. You know, that's gonna bring down some serious value on that property, and the banks are holding that note. And who knows where those mortgages are packaged up and in what derivative they're tied up in. But you'll have a lot of that, both from Hurricane Harvey and from Irma, and maybe another one that comes along. Who knows? They seem to be forming all over the place down there. So yeah, it is something that, you know, that rubbed me the wrong way this morning, and I'm going to try to have a few more political discussions. Maybe I'll do one political discussion or, you know, current event discussion a day, and then I'll have a secondary one that's kind of more shooting from the hip, talking about things with me and what's going on in my area, or just something randomly that popped into my head. But yeah, this one rubbed me the wrong way this morning, and I felt I should just get it out there because, you know, it's really systemic in this country. And at the same time that our infrastructure's gone to hell, you know, you talk to other people who've been to other countries, especially Asian countries, how nice their facilities are, how amazing their airports are, how much better their airplanes are, their high-speed rail, you know, whatever it is. Other countries have invested in their infrastructure and their ability to capitalize in a capitalistic system. You know, even though you have fairly tyrannical governments in China and Russia and Indonesia and places like this, they're still dumping massive amounts of money trying to bring up the free market economy under. And you see millions of people every year in these countries reaching a middle class status that nobody thought was possible 15 years ago in those countries. So before we sit here on our high horse and think that this is just the way, you know, it is for us to slowly be on a steady decline, and that's the world today, it's not. Other places are putting in the time and money and effort to bring up their middle class rather than destroy it. and that's something we really gotta press people for, is and make people aware. And people know subconsciously, just most people don't know what they can do about it, which is another problem, obviously. But alright, that's gonna be my first video today. I'll probably make another one later today. It's still it's only about 10 o'clock, so we'll see what else pops into my mind. Thanks, guys. Bye.